Hi, today I want to talk about the problem of human scale. So, we want to look at two things in my presentation today. One, the definition of the problem, and two, talk a little about Hobbes versus Aristotle, some of the differing ways they looked at government and how that affects America and really modern Western democracy as a whole. So, first of all, the definition of human scale, the problem of it as we see it, focuses more on the problem focuses on role, size, and the nature of political order in Western societies, whereas Aristotelian tradition holds that political societies should be small, like Venetian republics or the Republic of Genoa or Milan, reflecting those back of ancient Greece. Hobbes believed that humanity would revert to anarchy, total anarchy, if there wasn't a strong centralized government informed by the social contract. So Hobbes, let's start with him because the man in the video starts with him. Hobbes believes that no man that hath sovereign power can justly be put to death, or otherwise in any manner by his subjects punished. For seeing every subject is author of the actions of his sovereign, he punished another for the actions committed by himself. So this is a very interesting perspective from Thomas Hobbes when we look at the relationship that the leader is supposed to have from uh, from their with their people. So Hobbes believes that no man can actually bring charges against the sovereign or can order the sovereign to be punished or put to death because the sovereign was put there by the will of the people, and the people would therefore be hurting themselves. So there is a relationship between the sovereign or the king or the magistrate and the people whose will has put them in power. Now, Hobbes is operating from a monarchical perspective, not necessarily democratic perspective, but there is supposed to be an order and agreement between the leadership and those being led. And because there is that agreement, those being led cannot lay any charges against the leadership. So think about that today when we look at what's going on in American politics. We don't like one president, we don't like another president. We're just going to bring charges and bring accusations of corruption and try to get them. We do this. We've done this for a while in American politics. So America does not perfectly follow Hobbes' ideal perspective on that. Um, Hobbes states a focus on several characteristics. One, liberty of the individual is traded for security. So there is a contractual agreement. Also, submission is considered far better than the potential for war. So we can avert war, we can bring peace by submitting to the authority of the magistrate. Also, humans are naturally chaotic and prone to regression. As a Christian, I 100% agree with this last one because I believe in the doctrine of original sin. I believe that all humans are born sinful and we're born with natural sinful tendencies. So I think Hobbes does well in connecting that idea that there's a weakness, there's a moral weakness in human beings that can influence and affect the way we govern ourselves or that we allow ourselves to be governed. Okay, let's compare this with Aristotle. So, first of all, Aristotle took a very different perspective on mankind. Listen to what he says. He goes, since we see that every city state is a sort of community, and that every community is established for the sake of some good, for everyone does something good for the sake of what they believe to be good, it is clear that every community aims at some good, and the community which has the most authority of all and includes all the others aims highest, that is, at the good with the most authority. This is what is called the city state or political community. So, in Aristotle's vision, the government is small, focused on the city state, where people are working for the highest good. They are naturally inclined, according to Aristotle's perspective, they are naturally inclined to make good choices for their benefit and for the benefit of their community. I fundamentally disagree with this. I believe human beings are far more selfish, and I don't think that I'm jaded or, you know, naturally negative or pessimistic. I think that Aristotle misses the mark here when he's understanding human nature. And I think that Hobbes actually had that part right. What's interesting, though, is that there does come to be a blend of these two. Now, I thought this painting was absolutely fascinating. So you're looking at Aristotle caressing a bust of Homer, um, as perceived and as interpreted by the 17th century master Rembrandt. Um, Aristotle is dressed in 17th century clothes. That was pretty common, from art in the day. But I think it's a really good metaphor for what the Renaissance and the Reformation does. The doctrine of ad fontes, they said we have to go to the fount. We have to go to the fount of knowledge. This applied not only to theology, but to politics and philosophy as well. So they would go actually to Aristotle and see what he said about politics, about religion. So it's interesting that Rembrandt depicts Aristotle as a 17th century nobleman, right? He depicts him as someone in their own time. And I think that's really telling with what the political world did with Aristotle's philosophy. The idea of republicanism was resurrected, and Hobbes will have something to say about that. Hobbes will have an influence on how these medieval people coming out of the medieval era, going into the early modern era, will perceive what it means to be in a republic. So here are some changes. Um, both France and the United States, they utilized Hobbes when they were building their republics, despite the fact that they were very large democracies, not democracies, they're very large republics. So they both used Hobbes, a lot of his idea, the contract, social good, a lot of his ideas, even the concept that man is evil. That's a fundamental Christian idea that's utilized heavily during the American Revolution and during the construction of the U.S. Constitution, because they know that power can corrupt, and can often be seduced and corrupted by power. What's also interesting, specifically in the United States, is men who would have loved and adored Hobbes and would have loved and adored a lot of these conservative ideals, men like Thomas Jefferson. He had no idea, he had no problem, rather, dramatically expanding the United States with the Louisiana Purchase in 1801. So it's interesting that Hobbes influenced republicanism, and republicanism was influenced by Aristotelian theory on politics, even as they wildly disagree, both in England and in France, in America and France. This weird hybrid emerges. And in America, it has worked. It is it's worked very well for the past 200 years that we have a democratic republic, that we have representatives that we elect and vote upon. But we also have this social agreement. While we do have a large government, and there is debate over if it's too large or not large enough, depending on what services we expect and what civil rights we expect. However, there is this weird mixture between Hobbes and Aristotle and the way that we have structured our political experience in the United States. I really appreciate your time and attention. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and a good summer. Thank you.